coming to a sunrise. So what my eye, that moment I visualize is coming. If you can see me now, see I'm gonna break through the life I knew. Been waiting, a dream come true. Still aiming. If you could see me now, if you could see me now.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is that time again, and boy do we got a lot to talk about. We are here to cover episodes 125, 126, and 127 of Hunter x Hunter, and they were probably the best episodes in the series so far. You guys, anyone who's already watched Hunter x Hunter, you know what episodes I'm talking about. We finally got to Mirim versus Netero, and before we even start talking about it, I'm going to tell you one thing. While their entire fight was absolutely amazing, totally spectacular, the episode after the fight, episode 127, was probably the best episode of the three. And I'll explain to you why when we get there. But without further ado, let's jump into this breakdown. So, episode 125 starts off with a little quick, you know, what happened last time, where Palm and Killua were talking. Palm convinces Killua, you know, don't think that you're useless because, you know, Gon needs you more than anybody else. But then we go over to the room with Gon, Pito, and Poof. And Melioron and Knuckle showed up. Melioron is still invisible. Knuckle walks in, and Knuckle basically challenges Poof. Poof, reading the situation, basically ends up telling the whole group that he is actually just a shell. You know, it's just made of segments. And that his real body is already heading toward the king. And that he will gladly fight Knuckle, but it's not really him. Now, I guess the reason he decided to reveal this was to try and gain the mental upper hand on everybody, you know, make himself feel superior. But he tried to play it off like he was doing it for Gon, that he was basically trying to get Gon's approval to leave and fight Knuckle. But Gon is on some next level shit in these episodes, because while Knuckle starts to get annoyed with the way Poof is talking to them and the fact that, you know, he's already gone, Gon just like, you're lying. A little while ago, you came here to just kill me, so why are you trying to get my approval now? And he's like, do you have a way to prove you're a segment? Like, Gon just sees through everything, and even Poof is like, this dude is dangerous. Of all the people here, he has the most focus and the most insight. And Poof is just like, if I prove to you I'm a segment, can I go fight him? And Poof smiles, thinking he's, you know, above it all, and even Pito tries to stop him. And Poof just breaks himself down into his, you know, his little segment as Beelzebub, and flies out and basically tells Knuckle that he'll meet him at the front gate in 10 minutes. And Gon doesn't react, and this actually like chills Pito to the bone, because Pito's just like, first off, he didn't react to Poof's provocation. Pito's like, I'm still here. You know, I didn't go anywhere. You don't need him. I'm sorry for the way he just acted. You only need me. And Gon says, I guess you'll just have to, you know, heal Komugi 10 minutes faster. And Pito, you know, freezes in his tracks. And he's just like, oh my god. A couple things happen simultaneously. First off, we get an explanation from the narrator that apparently when Pito had first asked Gon for time to heal Komugi, he had asked for 3 to 4 hours. Apparently that was a lot more time than he needed. So when they settled on 1 hour, that was the actual amount of time he needed to heal Komugi completely. But now, Gon's done straight slash his time. And the crazy thing is, when you think about it, is according to the narrator, apparently because of the fact that Pito has used Dr. Blake so much, he could probably do it in a shorter amount of time and heal Komugi. And Pito freaks out because Pito's not sure if Gon realized that he was stalling and that he can actually get it done a lot faster, or if he said 10 minutes because of Poof. Either way, Pito sees Gon as a threat. This, what is he, 12? He's supposed to be, 14 now? This 14-year-old kid is the biggest threat to Pito right now, and Pito decides right then and there that he's going to kill Gon. Now, we got a little explanation about what's going on in Knuckles' head when Knuckle goes to meet Poof. Knuckle, you know, came to an understanding with Yuppie, gained Yuppie's respect. Yuppie let them live. he's hoping he can, change Poof's mind by, actually having a conversation with Poof. Whereas Poof basically wants to interrogate Knuckle and find out why Yuppie let Knuckle live. Because depending on Knuckles' answer, he may have to kill Yuppie. Because Yuppie has gone through a major change, just like Pizza has. Now, the second half of the episode, it's almost like two whole different episodes. We go back over to Netero and Meruem, and it's fight night, baby. It basically takes off right from where it did in the last episode we saw them, and the whole thing about how'd you come up with my name, how'd you come in possession of my name. They start flexing, getting ready to fight. Netero jumps in the air, does some like crazy, martial arts poses. We get this crazy scene of him sitting in a flower, and then he summons his 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva, and he does the 99th hand, which apparently is just a barrage of strikes, and he literally just beats the ever-living shit out of Meruem and pounds him literally straight down into the ground. And while this is all happening, Netero is going through his mind, and he's just like, when did I start letting my opponent make the first move? When did I start waiting for them to attack me? And he's like, when did I start, accepting their handshakes when I beat them in their defeat? He's like, that's never what I wanted. The entire time I've been practicing the martial arts is because I want to be able to use my all against an unstoppable foe. And as they crash through the ground, they end up in this, what apparently is underground. It looks like almost like a bunker, but there's a whole like giant room, almost like a mausoleum underneath the ground where they met up to fight. And he continues the assault on Meruem. Meruem is, he's doing okay, but after he gets smacked into a wall, and the way that they animated it is you could just see the force, and Meruem's body is literally rolling as the hand is sending him flying. We get this last shot of Netero as he's basically grateful to Meruem for being such a powerful opponent, where he can finally use his all. The next episode kicks off right back into the fight, and we get a little insight into what Meruem's thinking as their fight is going on. And even though Meruem's getting smacked around, all he feels towards Netero is admiration. This is a human, a very old human. It's clearly past the limits a normal human's supposed to be at, and who has an attack that is strong enough to maybe actually defeat him. And he admits it, that while his attacks aren't doing much damage, he knows that this power can beat him. Now, Meruem decides to kind of outthink Netero, I guess is a good way to put it. So he starts going on a super relentless attack, non-stop. Even though Netero's countering him, he will literally immediately recover and immediately attack again, non-stop. Basically, he's trying to learn Netero's patterns. He's trying to learn all the different combinations of attacks Netero can do, and then try to figure out all the different, methods he could potentially block him or attack him. The attacks aren't doing any damage to Meruem, so he has no reason to not keep attacking. It literally comes down to who's going to run out of stamina first. And he explains that, everybody has a rhythm, even slightly, everybody has an attack pattern that they prefer. Or habits that keep them from doing a certain attack pattern. And he knows that once he finds that one specific combination that Netero isn't used to doing, or his body just out of habit won't do, that's when he knows he'll be able to get in. And he talks about how after all his games with Komugi, how he's developed the ability to predict his opponent. And as he's going after Netero over and over again, he's smiling because he's enjoying the challenge, and he's thinking to himself, old soldier, don't die before I figure it out. Don't run out of stamina. He wants to win this fight legit. And it goes back over to Netero, and Netero even admits too that because he could see the smile, that he's having fun too. And the mirror of the two characters is pretty cool, because sometimes it'll show Meruem smiling, sometimes it'll show Netero smiling, and then we get this ridiculously animated scene where you just see the hands of the Bodhisattva going mad fast, and Meruem's body just bouncing off the walls back and forth, and it gets so freaking insane. Meruem at one point stops and talks to him, and basically says that that he tells Netero that he sees him as the pinnacle of what a human can do, but he's only a human. and this actually kind of irritates Netero. This happens right before this whole giant barrage. Netero basically tells him that he's going to show him the Zero Hand, which is apparently the most powerful move he has. As they're fighting, even though the attacks weren't doing much damage, because of the thousands and thousands of attacks going back and forth, it's starting to wear down on Merum's body, and he's starting to really feel it. But he finds his first hole in Netero's defense. So out of all of Netero's movements, the only movement that was really faster than Merum was his movement to go pray. Merum explains it that somehow, even the narrator explains it, that he compresses time in the moment where he goes to pray, and then once he goes to pray, he goes into the attack. So no matter how fast Merum went at him, he was still able to launch his attack. But Merum found the one spot where he couldn't stop him, and tore off Netero's leg. He stops, and he's just like, "Are you satisfied? Can you tell me my name now?" And he's just like, "You need to stop the blood, because if you don't stop the blood, you're gonna die." And Netero's like, "Who the hell do you think I am?" He literally smacks his leg, and the muscles around his leg squeeze it shut. This was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen an anime character do. Like, he's supposed to be a normal human, and he just did that. Like, that is whatever. Well, they go back to fighting, and Merum's like astonished that Netero's spirit hasn't diminished at all, even though it's literally missing a leg. And we get another really, really beautiful scene of them going back and forth. It looks like something out of Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, or like some kind of Gundam show, because it looks like they're fighting through space as you see the arms of the Bodhisattva flying around, Netero flying, Merum flying, and just explosions everywhere. Until Merum manages to rip off his left arm. And then before the arm even hits the ground, Merum turns around and sits down. And basically, he thinks the fight's over. And because he thinks that Netero needs to go into the motion to pray to launch his attack. So now that he doesn't have both hands, he doesn't think he can do it. And Netero's like, "Ha, you're an idiot. Praying, I don't need my hands to pray. Praying is a physical motion. It's something that comes from the heart. You pray, you make a wish, and the prayer helps it come true." And as he does this, the Bodhisattva shows up again, but this time it shows up behind where Merum is sitting. And it was absolutely gorgeous the way that this happened. And we get to see what the Zero Hand was. The Zero Hand is two of the hands coming, and as the narrator described it, gently but firmly grasping the opponent, and then the entirety of Netero's aura left charges itself in the mouth of the Bodhisattva and launches it out like a giant Dragon Ball Z fucking beam. It's described as a shooting star, and just point blank just blows away Merum. And as amazing as this all was, we now see Netero withered, looking like his age, bleeding. His muscles are completely worn out. Even his eyes have turned black. His body is just done because he used up all of his aura. And out of the crater comes Merum. He's all fucked up. His body is torn to shreds, but compared to what it should have been, he's really not that bad off. And he explains, while that attack was incredible, Netero's all done. And Merum starts to explain that the difference between the two of them, Merum was bred to be king. He was bred to be the strongest. The Chimera ants devour different species to eventually culminate to the king. Humans and their individuality makes it so, it's tough for them to work together. They always end up wanting to rule over each other. Like, he basically goes into a whole philosophical thing about how humans are the lesser species. Like, he even says that human individuality even disrupted the chain of command of the Chimera ants. Because, their whole thing was, we serve the queen. Okay, cool. The queen birthed the king. Now the queen controls the soldiers. The royal guard works with the king. But that got all messed up because now all the soldier ants want to be their own king. And it disrupted their chain of command completely. Well, Netero, looking like something absolutely creepy, tells Merum his name. He's just like, you just don't understand, Merum. And he says his name, and Merum, catches it. King of the Ants, Merum, you have no idea the bottomless malice of the human heart. And when Miriam heard this, like, we actually get this crazy scene of Netero with a giant skull on his head. Miriam, for the first time, feels legitimate fear. Because even though this man is battered, beaten, bloodied, and bruised, he meant everything he said. And we get an explanation about something that Netero had implanted in himself. And we just see him take his two fingers and jab them into his own heart. We see a doctor saying that when Netero's heart stops, this will explode. Going into this fight, I had only seen very small clips of it. I avoided it as much as I could over the years, but I knew the outcome. I knew that, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't actually seen this fight before. If you haven't seen this fight before, please skip a couple seconds in. I knew they were both gonna die. I knew Netero dies from his wounds. I knew Miriam, as far as I was told, Miriam dies of poison. I didn't know it was radiation poison. Or at least that's what I got told. Because what Netero put inside of him was a giant bomb. And we get the description of the bomb, that it is so powerful that it's killed numerous amount of people, and that the explosion, as opposed to a mushroom cloud, looks like a rose, so it's called the miniature rose or the poor man's rose. And even even Miriam says, I see now that even from the beginning, checkmate was already yours. And that's what the episode ends, with this beautiful explosion looking like a giant rose. I was already on cloud 9 after watching episode 26, but I had to keep going, 3 is where I've been going. I'm sorry that this is a longer episode, but there was just so much emotion in all of this. Now, here's why I thought this episode was the best one of the 3. So, the episode opens up with us getting an explanation of the history of the rose bomb. We find out that it was mostly used by dictators, terrorist groups. It's cheap to make, but it's effective. And I guess it's claimed, 5.1 million lives? And at one point, a terrorist group unleashed a bunch of them on a country, and because of that, the United Nations have banned them. Well, banned the creation. Any that were already made were still in storage, waiting to be blown up. I guess Netero got his hands on one, and it was kind of his last resort. Now, we go over to Yuppie and Poof flying toward the king, and they see the explosion, and they freak out. We actually get to see Knuckle approaching Poof's segments, his shell, and he turns around and half his face is a bug. Because he's freaking out, because, he's connected to Poof's actual body, and they realize something's wrong with the king, and he just spazzes out and flies away. And Knuckle realized there was never going to be any getting to him at all. We jump over to Okago getting out of the basement. After we haven't seen him since he talked to Wolfen a few episodes ago. And as he gets out, he sees the destruction of the palace. And we find out that they've only been there for 30 minutes. Everything that's happened so far has only been 30 minutes. And as he sees, a piece of one of the buildings crumble, he actually hears Killua call him. He looks down, he sees Killua and Palm, and he's happy to see Killua. Killua explains, he points at the Palm, and he's like, "Oh my God, it's Palm! You finally were able to join us." The 3 of them sit down, they start talking, and they start talking about what they're going to do. The plan was originally for Okago to take Palm to the capital city and get out of there, but Palm wants to stay to help Gon. So does Killua. They decide that, Gon's going to fight Pito one-on-one. And that's their best chance for success. He has all that anger and all that rage driving him. He can do some damage. But worst case scenario, Pito wins. They're all going to rush Pito, even though Okago realizes that none of them, even together, are a match for Pito. So it's either Gon wins or they die together. And you know what? Not a single one of them hesitates. And it's amazing to see their bond of friendship. Knuckle and Meliorum end up meeting up with them, and they all just decide, they start talking about, he tells them that Poof's segments went crazy, something must happen to the king. Their whole job was to separate the royal guard from the king long enough for Netero to take care of the king. And he's like, "I'm not sure if the king's dead, but no matter what, we did our job," just like Master Nove said. But all 5 of them decide to go and check up on Gon. And this is where shit starts getting crazy. Before Pito says anything, Gon stands up and says, "You're done," right? And Pito freaks out. Pito's like, how does he know? How does he know I already finished the surgery? I made sure to hide my progress. I didn't say a word to him. And Pito's just like, what the fuck is happening right now? And Pito realizes that that one moment where he decided to kill Gon, Gon must have felt Pito's bloodlust. And Pito's like, shit. Well, Pito, dispels Dr. Blythe and gets up. Kamui comes back to consciousness, and Kamugi's just like, what's happening? What happened to me? And Pito tries to talk to Kamugi. And Gon just gives Pito the death stare and says, if you talk out of turn again, I will kill her. And I'm like, Gon, what are you talking about killing this poor little girl? And like, again, we see him with his aura just wrapped around his entire body, and those black shrieks inside of his aura just make him look so much more menacing. As this happens, Knuckle and Kilo will show up, and Gon basically asks them to take Kamugi for them. Because, as soon as he doesn't even have to say it, but Pito, Knuckle, Kilo, they all realize that he's taking Kamugi hostage. He's like, we'll let her go as soon as we see Kite. And he tells Pito that they're gonna run to the capital because it'll be the fastest way to get there. And this whole time, Gon is literally in complete control of the room. He's in complete control of the scene, and this whole shit was just crazy. His whole demeanor is just like a whole different person compared to how he was the last 4 seasons. We see him running off with Pito. Pito still got a broken arm, and they just take off mad fast. And we see, everybody lined up with Kamugi, with Knuckle literally having his arm on Kamugi's shoulder. And Kamugi's just like, I don't know what's happening. I'm scared. I just want to see our leader. And then we get to this. Oh my god. Poof and Yuppie show up at the bomb's explosion site, I guess. And it was so powerful that it melted the rock, creating a floor of magma and made a giant fire pit. Poof can't even get near it. They start screaming for the king, and Yuppie's rage just goes over the top, and he's just like, I was wrong. I was totally wrong. We're gonna find the king, and we're gonna kill all of them. He let all the humans live, but now he just wants to tear them all to pieces for what they did to his king. Well, Yuppie, being the sensible one, which is crazy to me, tells Poof, you search around here. The ball might have sent him flying. I'm gonna go in and see if we can find him in the flames. So Poof breaks down into his segments, starts flying around. Yuppie transforms himself into something that can handle the heat and starts walking through the lava. And he finds the king. He finds him and just lets out a ridiculous scream. And as soon as Poof hears it, he starts flying back toward him, and he's already crying. Yuppie comes out of the flames with the king in his hands, tears in his eyes, and we get to see what the bomb did to Meruem. He is literally just a husk of ash and pain, no arms, no legs, literally nothing compared to his former glory. And with the two characters crying out, screaming, that is where the episode ends. And the emotion, like, I hate Poof. I like Yuppie. But to see Meruem like that, and to see the way they reacted to this, like, I get it, it's in their DNA to serve the king, but their human parts really make them love their job, love the person they serve. So to see that much pain coming out of these two characters, it was just, it was insane to me. Overall, the episodes were absolutely great. Like I said, the bomb completely caught me by surprise. I watched it live on Twitch with a few viewers. They enjoyed my reaction because I had no idea it was coming. Watching Gon act the way he was, watching Yuppie and Poof find Meruem, it was a lot. But that's it. That's the end of this review and breakdown, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know any of your thoughts in the comments. What you guys thought about my opinions. If you guys want to watch the next 3 episodes with me, I will be streaming Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch. Link to that will be down in the description. I would love for you guys to come watch it with me. But that is it for me, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video. Later.